Hi, Dee. You are one of my first interviews on a follow-up for my fairs and festivals reading. And I wanted to introduce you first because you are literally my rock. You're my one of my dearest friends and cohorts. You are from Minneapolis, Minnesota, and you have been a friends and family reader for decades, basically. And I wanted to start by asking you to give us your pedigree because you have esoteric history happening. What is that?
Well, I do come from a family that has had these wonderful gifts forever, but we never thought of it as anything any more than what other families had. It was like I thought it happened everywhere. When my grandma would ask me, "So, what are you seeing, Dee?" And I would answer her, and I thought, "Okay," but when I would go to others' homes, they never talked like that. Like the special things that would happen and oh look, I got the seed to grow and things like that. Just all these little gifts. I just have to call them gifts. But it was my grandmother, my mother. I have cousins, one in particular who was writing books on it, who was a channeler, um, who has since passed away, but of course she does come around now and again. Those are the things that got me to feel like, okay, here it is, this gift, and I need to grow with it more. So I got into the tarot and the Reiki and always felt like I was a healer with not just people, birds and animals. So, and then I met you.
We met at a seminar at some little bookshop, I think, somewhere, but that was right around the time that I was, getting into the bigger, trying to get into the street festivals. And I'm going to ask everybody I interview, how did you get into this in the first place? But I have a feeling your entry into fairs and festivals was me. And it was 2021 when I asked if you would like to participate in the Hopkins Raspberry Festival. That is a festival that's it's a 4-day festival, 1-day marketplace on Main Street, right downtown. And there's like, I don't know, 400 to 600 booths lining both sides of the street for blocks and bunches of food trucks in the center. And they have an average of about 18,000 people that come down that street on that day every year. And I was a little nervous about whether or not I would be able to keep up by myself. So I said, "Hey, Dee, why don't you want to try this?" And you'd never read publicly before, right? So this was kind of
No,
a story. Tell me what you remember about that day.
besides it being so hot.
God, it was 90, wasn't on asphalt. Good thing we had roads. What's
Well, my concern too, and when I saw everyone there walking on it and we started getting our clients coming in, it was like I didn't feel like I didn't feel really grounded. I felt like I was um I knew what was in front of me, but it was like, okay, all these other things were coming in. So I had to zero in on myself and say, wait a second, I'm here for a reason and make it work well for you and have at it. And once after like the second or third reading where you looked at that client's face and most didn't have questions, they were like, what does the cards have to say? And I was like, oh, this is freewheeling. I get to, just read the cards. Which I knew how to do, but and that's when it got to be more interesting when something would be said and you'd see them light up or something that was a comment from, well, this card means this, and they look at you like, "Oh, I never thought of that." So it got better and better and better. And we were busy.
Yeah, we at one point in time, I had to stop reading. I said, "Excuse me, just for a moment," to the person in front of me. I said, "I got I got to get a picture of this." We had two lines lined up, one at your end of the table and one at mine, because we were using the same tent, the 6-foot table. We were at one on each end, with
Yeah.
our prospective clients, and
Yes.
But I remember I wasn't going to allow you to get nervous before. So I was really careful about how I spoke to you and how we prepared for it. Like, because I just didn't want you to get the heebie jeebies. But I promised you that once you got there, you know, it was just going to open up. And that's what happened, right?
Yeah.
When down. Were there
Yes.
were there any was there anything that exceeded your expectations or that didn't live up to your expectations about that day, that first day?
I guess probably the one thing I wasn't expecting is I did have one client that came in, and all of a sudden she came back and brought her boyfriend, and then they came back and brought her mother, and I'm thinking, "Oh my gosh, where did this stop?" And I was getting nervous there. But as far as I just couldn't believe how many people were wanting to hear what we had to say.
And this was at a non-metaphysical event. This was just a regular street fair.
Exactly. We had a food truck on one side and clothing on the other. I mean, who knew?
I'm not gonna find I'll put up a picture here in a minute of that day with us. So, um, all right, so that was the first. So then let's fast forward to this past summer or spring or whatever. And all of a sudden, you called me and said, "Hey, I'm gonna start reading." And how did that come about? I mean, what led you to decide to start participating in these events on a regular basis? I mean, what happened? Can you explain how that came to be and what you did what made that decision for you?
Um, well, just reading my regular reading was with the family and a few odds and then people who would come in and ask me to do a read for them. And I was at a this lovely little farmer's market, and I'm wandering around, and it was just looking at all the beautiful vegetables. And I happened to note one corner of the market that was woven. And I looked at that and I just kind of saw myself there. And so I went to the person who runs it, and all I said was, "Would you do you have readers here, other readers here during other days, and or would you let a reader come in?" And then I told her what I did, tarot and everything, and she said, "When can you come?" I thought, "Oh my gosh." And then she asked if I had a card, which I did. And she gave me her email address. Exchanged, and that was the start of it. And even the day that I got there, she gave me that little corner that was nothing there. And I was nervous again, but it it was fun. And I had 5 people that day, and which I
That's
did not, and
yeah.
I just let it go. And that's how it got started.
So looking back on that first day at the farmer's market,
Mhm.
is there anything do you have any shoulda, woulda, couldas? I mean, was there and now looking backward, and I know you put in a lot of time and effort because you called me and we went over like where, how to put together a booth, what you should start with, whatever. And you did a beautiful job. You tossed together a booth, for it. And I know you put thought into that, but after that first day, what what did was there anything you could have better prepared for, or did you over prepare in one area and under prepare in another? What was that like for just the physical booth?
Um, I didn't need to I went overkill. I thought, I need to bring a reason for these people to wanna come in. And I had the one backdrop of just my, sheer gold stars all over, but I had moons on one side and stuff on the other side. And the comment that came out was, as they were drawn into that, I didn't need anything more than that. It was like, keep it simple, D." I had one stone on my table, and they commented on that several times, and it was one of those glass crystal ones, and then my stars in the back. Um, but people just came in and said, "This is so cozy. This is so nice." And it was interesting how they entered. They just didn't walk in and stand in front of the door. They kind of came in and sat down. So they were out of it, out of sight, out of mind. Because I think they were probably a little uncomfortable. But I realized then I didn't need a whole lot to get them to enter. They just needed to see me and the comfort of what I had, cards, and cards were something interesting as well when they saw I'd several decks and I just had them sitting on my table and I would, how are you? I'm Dee, whatever. And do you anything pull at you? I would just ask. Some would say, no, you pick. And others would say, I want that one.
Well,
So,
find over the course of this summer doing these markets that you were doing, did you find, and as I find at most non-metaphysical events, that the people you get there, those are impulse buys. Those are people that would never see walk into a psychic fair. These are people that, hey, they've always heard about readings. They've always wanted to try one. They've never been subjected. You're there. You're there. Why not? I mean, did you find that most of the people that you read there have never been read before?
and you're exactly right. They had, I asked the question, have you ever had a reading? And, none had readings before.
Yeah.
Um, one actually said, I was there ready to do it. And something said, no, it didn't feel right, which I can't imagine that terrible feeling. But I had no previous readers, but I can tell you that the following weeks, I did every other week, and the following week that I had gone back to do that, 2 of those people came back.
See, now it's interesting because what I have discovered with energy events is it, people that want to be read at fairs and festivals, that's where they want to be read. I don't find that I get a lot of private business or repeat business away from the event. I will have, well, one of the things I like about the Hippodome, in White Bear Lake, and since we're from the same town, is that, and like one morning, my first readings will all be people that rush in and sign up because they want a repeat reading. They don't call me and do it, through Zoom or at my phone or at a restaurant or a coffee shop, but they'll wait and they'll line and wait for the next event, and then they come and they want to be the first one signed up at the next event. So it's kind of strange. Did you have any unforgettable moments about this first year reading? I mean, anything happen or anything of interest, any stories or anything strange or
I only had one in particular that comes to my mind right now is I had a woman, and it was toward the end of one of the market days, and she came in and as I'm folding something up, she stood in front of me and said, "Just what exactly do you do?" And I said, "Well, I read the cards." "No, no," she said. "Can you pick up um, what people are in tune with this?" She said, "I have a son, and I know he has these tendencies. So if I brought him in here, could you find that? Can you see that?" And I thought, "No, no, I can't. I can't. I'm a reader, but well, how does he feel about it?" And just I suggested she check on YouTube and things like that. But I was not that kind of a doctor to figure that out, if you want to say that. And the only other one that I thought was hilarious was a lady was there and it was her birthday. It was she was 90 something years old, and she stuck her head in and she said, "Honey, I lost my phone. Can you tell me where it is?"
oh, I remember that story. That's too funny. So, so Dee, we've talked about this before, you and I, on how do you read? How much do you read? Tell me this: how do you do your readings, and how many cards do you typically do in a reading, and how long are they?
I didn't have set times. I just if um, they came in and I had said it was about a 15-minute read, approximately, because that was a question that was asked, how long is this gonna take? Um, and if they had a question, course, my question to them, have you ever been read? Then the other part to that was as they were if I knew that they had not been read before, I just did just an explanation, basically, what I normally say is, I'm just the reader. I just tell you what the cards mean. I have no idea anything about you, but if it's something that's pertains to it, then if you could let me know or if you want to chime in. And a lot of times that's how it got started. Um, if you could tell, well, I could feel it for me. If they were a little apprehensive. Um, and I had only one time where I had two people on either side. One wanted to listen to the other, and it was given a thumbs up to let that happen. And again, it goes like 15, 20 minutes.
Okay.
And I have had those who they could be with me all day. Well, what about this? Well, what about that? And it has to basically be stemmed on for me is, well, you came in with this thought, specific thought. I can't find anymore. It's going in the wrong direction. It's like throwing too many cards. And you know me and clarifiers, I only get so many.
You could throw too many cards. You are the queen of clarifiers.
Uh, and I like clarifiers, but I was doing 5 card readings.
Okay.
And if there was something specific that came back, I would do a 5 card and maybe throw 3 clarifiers if it was appropriate.
Okay.
Because you can tell when a card doesn't fit.
Sure. So everybody, veterans and newbies alike, everyone's curious about how much people charge. And I really thought, coming from the upper Midwest, I did like a 5-state area, and they all charge about the same thing. And I thought that was that way all over the country. I guess not. So I'll be asking everybody from various parts of the country, what the average charge is or what you charge. So what did you start with, and did you, as a fee for your 5-card, 15-minute reading, and did you stick with that price, or did you raise it or lower it over the course of this first year?
I'm normally 40. I just say I'm 40 for a 5 card, about 15 minutes. Uh, and the only time that I switched it was at one of the farmer market days. They were doing this festival type thing. And I kind of just threw a card out, said today that was 30. And the response wasn't any different than if I was 40. No one ever argued or said, geez, you're too much money or whatever. And I actually had one person say to me, you're not charging enough.
See,
So there
yeah,
you go.
I appreciate that.
Mhm.
All right. So do you have any advice for aspiring tarot readers that would like to do fairs and festivals, that would like to get out and do public reading like this? What advice, Dee?
What advice? I guess for me, it was to do something for myself. If you want to know if you can answer the question to someone you don't know who comes in and kind of putting their trust in you, the only way you'll be able to do that is to push yourself and sit behind that table and have your sign and see who gravitates to you. Maybe nobody, but then you get that one face that comes in. You don't have any idea what their background is, and they say to you, um, how come I can't find the job I'm looking for? Okay, all of a sudden it's like the hair comes up on your neck and you just kind of get this vibration and it's like, oh, I think I can answer that. So let's work at it. And I think that energy and vibration that I got once, and even when you and I were doing those readings, was like something you can't put in a bottle. You
Yeah.
have out and see for yourself.
I think one of the things that helped me, two things that helped me the most, that I try to convey to aspiring people, and that is, um, first and foremost, on your cards. Know your cards, because you don't want to. When you get in front of somebody and the stress level rises to a certain degree, you start going blank. You get those blank spots, right? And so I think, number one, if you know your cards, you can always relate back to your cards. You can always come back to that if you get stuck. But I think that for me, it was trusting the cards, and trusting, well, all right, in my case, trusting spirit, or trusting your own intuition if you don't trust in spirit. But I try to what I call my elevator pitch, right? This is what I tell people who've never been read before. I give them a little spiel, and
Mhm.
in that, I try to take the onus off of me and put it on the universe, right? It's like, look, like you said, I am but the messenger. My job is just to convey to you, what I see in the cards, but I happen to believe that spirit draws these cards. They're spirit, and 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 I am just trying to convey the messages that I'm being sent. And
Mhm.
I don't know your life, so you'll have to participate with me. And if I can get them to participate with me, then it just takes the onus off of me, and that now we're working together. And I don't feel the pressure of them thinking, sitting there waiting for me to come up with something brilliant. They understand that I'm just passing on what I'm seeing, and that they'll have to finish that last mile of it, themselves. And
And
it's
what really you too is that sometimes just putting yourself out there in a different surrounding where, here you are in this tent, in this carnival, and you've been asked to come in or you applied to come in, and all of a sudden you deal up those cards and it's like they don't even look the same sometimes because you have all this anxiety there a bit, and then you rely on that card and your deck takes you through. It's your partner, and
yeah,
it becomes your
yeah.
partner.
Gotta trust the deck, gotta trust the universe, gotta trust and um your own understanding of the cards. Again, that's why
And
know your cards and be able to flip through those cards and know them inside and out. It's amazing how much your confidence will be bolstered
yeah,
by those three things.
yeah,
And then you got to remember, people are coming to you. You're not out there, shaking the tree. They're walking up, saying, "Hey, I'm curious about you. I would like a reading." And I never get over that zinger that you get when the first person at every event says, "Are you available?" Or "I'd like to have a reading." It's like, here we go.
yes.
Here we go.
I know, I know. My cards get warm, my hands get jiggly. I love it.
Okay. Anything else you want to add before we conclude here?
No, just thanks, Lynn, for pulling me in. Hey, it's been wonderful. We have
Yeah.
good
You
conversations,
had
and
said earlier
you
that,
learn
that
a lot from me.
you had said earlier that first event that we did in Hopkins kind of, it was you were bitten by the bug.
I w
But I thought that was kind of fun because it really is exciting and fun.
It
Well,
is fun.
thanks. We will see you in future events. You sit in on the Tarot Readers podcast on my channel, second Tuesday of every month. And
Yes.
people really enjoy your humor and your outlook on the card. So that's kind of fun. Stick with me and the rest of you. I will be back with another interview.